talked about when you're making Run the Jewels 4 that you wanted to incorporate more samples in the Run the Jewels 4. And listening to Little Johnny from the Hospital, there's a lot of samples in that because that's a
Yeah.
production style that you were known for at the time. As much as you can encapsulate it, what would you say your relationship to sampling has been over the course of your career?
Well, I mean, at first it was the absolute main component of the way that I made music for many years, and it started the same way that it starts with everyone, which is just literally trying to lose something. And then it developed and started into little bits of pieces and things. And then my music started to become a huge collage of a bunch of little pieces and samples and twisted pulls, but it was all a turntable and a sampler. So I would say that my sampling relationship is very intimate. That was the cornerstone of what I do. And then it changed and developed and expanded over time. And then there were records that I got almost fully away from it.
Right.
But it's always a part of it's the building blocks of the way that I learned how to make songs. Self-taught hip hop musician, essentially. You know, I worked my way backwards from getting really good at collage stuff and creating my own creations and things that were, you weren't going to drop the needle and be like, that's that song. You might hear a sound though. So my relationship to sampling, by the time I got to Run the Jewels 4, and I've never completely stopped sampling, but it's just a whole different production approach and technique that I developed over the years that still kept the style of, and the tones and the things in my head that were sort of what my artistic voice is, but just constantly doing different things and looking for different sources and things. What I hadn't really done even in my own career was go really intentionally, obviously sampling something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I hadn't, like for instance, on Run the Jewels 4, Ground Below, we sampled a song that was just first song, that was the first version of Ground Below, not to dip too far back in, but it's an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
The Ground Below was a totally different song than the one that got released. The first version of Ground Below, we had sampled Someone Who Will Remain Nameless, and we made this song out of it, and it was incredible, and the hook was incredible, and it was a sampled hook, and it was really a full-on, like, hey, do you think we have the pull to, like, do this? Can we do a not only
high-profile artist, it sounds like y'all are sampling.
I mean, not high-profile in modern times, but someone who, But like doing something as an obvious sample isn't something that I did that much, and it felt like something cool that could be done. At this point in my career, it was like, I spent so much time not wanting to just be someone who's just straight up pulling from records. I wanted my sound to be unique, and now enough time has gone along that if I do that, that's different for me. So I was looking for something to sample that could be identified, that could be like, oh, they flipped that. Because that's one of the cornerstones of being a producer in hip hop. Everybody knows Nautilus. Everybody knows all the classic breaks. Everyone knows a lot of things. There's a bevy of things that are woven in the tradition of hip hop production that producers know. It's not about whether or not someone used the shit before. It's about how you used it. And if you can flip it in a way that no one had thought of and still make it that people understand that you're doing that, that's cool. In the producer world, there's a thrill to that. Like, yo, can I take, what is it, the Sylvesters, who I said, Sylvesters, I believe, for Out of Sight with 2 Chainz on it, Run the Jewels 4. That was another one where I was like, yo, this is the same shit the DOC used. This is the same shit that other groups have used. It's been used multiple times throughout the years. Do I have the guts and am I enough of an asshole to try and take this and make it mine?
To try to find one more way to flip this classic.
Not only classic song originally, but also classic hip hop song. One that influenced me hugely. Huge producer. Dr. Dre did that shit. Like, that's important, Am I enough of a dick to do this? Can I flip this thing? And so that someone listening to it will be like, yeah, that's that. But he did it in a way that no one had done it before. He did it in a way that no one had expected. My relationship to sampling on Run the Jewels 4 was that. It was like, yo, let me bring in something, let people know that I'm clearly doing this, and be brave enough and kind of on my own dick enough to be like, but now it's mine. And so the other thing about the Ground Below is that we were on the verge of a deal with this dude to do this record. He wanted 100% of all of the publishing. No, hold up. He wanted 100% of the publishing. In other words, all the lyrics you wrote and everything over it, I still say it's my song. I don't even want to give you shit, but you can use it. Mm-hmm. But I just get all the money, all the publishing, all the mass, everything. Even still, we were like, you know what, man? Okay. Because that's the game. Because it's your shit. It's your shit. I know that I'm coming to you. I know that I'm asking. You can just be like, no.
And they got all the leverage.
You have all the leverage, but we have leverage too. The leverage is we could either use it or not. Right. So we said, okay, 100%. All right, bet. And it kept going on, mixed the shit. But the deal wasn't done. And at the last minute, the dude decided, nah, I don't want you to use it. And yeah, and that threw us for a loop. But then the Gang of Four shit came in. And I have to understand, I'm a lifelong Gang of Four fan. I have been listening to this record, Ether, forever. I had looped it up about 1 million times. I had wanted to use it in some way. I had wanted to figure out one day, I had fantasized about using it. And then here I was again, and I was being confronted with like this jam that really rounded the album out, being gone, and maybe us missing our street date and shit, And that could have been a disaster, and it could have been, fuck it, the song's not on there. And then, the skies parted and opened up, and I remembered that I love this group and that this song is something that this might be the perfect place for me to finally use this thing that I've loved since I was a kid.
RTJ, the God killer, this Tokyo and I'm Godzilla. Playing blackjack versus death gun on the car dealer. Just bought a demon, I'm screaming about the car dealer. Last temptation of Mike, but I'm a God tickler.
And it worked out even better, and it was even doper, and it was exactly what needed to happen for the song. And all of that stress and everything was what needed to happen because we needed to come to that song. The only reason I'm even going on about this is because just to point out that the sampling that I'm doing is like directly connected to my life and my inspiration and my lineage as a musician and the shit that thrilled me.
Shit that you fuck with, yeah.
Right, and that's what Run the Jewels 4 was about, was really bringing and embracing in all of the things in a pure way, everything that we love about musically as well as lyrically and everything that we were bringing into the lineage of what we were doing in the record. And so that's a different place to be in terms of looking at sampling and where I was when I first started and where I was with Company Flow and Little Johnny from the Hospital and, Cannibal Ox and all the records up until Cancer Cure, I don't know, where it was like, no, this is my main way that I make music, and I'm trying to construct things that if I'm doing my job right, no one will know where the fucking sample is and where it isn't. So that's kind of my relationship with it. I don't make music like right now. I'm making a record where there are no samples. And this is not a Run the Jewels record. I'm just doing a thing. I'm using all analog drum machines and all analog synths and all analog and kits and music and instruments. It's only just because it's all just a rotating bag of tools and tricks for me in terms of keeping myself excited about music. Sound is sound for me. That's it. Like sound is sound for me. I don't have any specific, apart from that sentiment that I'm talking about, which is giving something to people as a sample that where you're saying, raising your hand and being like, hey, look at me, I'm sampling. That I've recently have found really interesting. One day, I swear to God, I'm just going to make a whole rap record on an Sonic EPS 16 Plus again. Like that's going to happen, at some point, just on some fuck it shit, because I spent so many years with this machine and it taught me how to make music. And it was such an art form and so fun to really dig in and pull sound and make collage art and all that shit. And I loved it. It was a huge part of it. So I'll do that one day.